All right, gang, welcome back. It's now September the 10th, so we're moving right along through the early fall season here as we get into we're now past the official start of Oscar season. But one important video that I have yet to do, and we're going to take care of it right now, is we're talking about all the films that have come out that are scheduled to come out over the next few months. What about what's already come out? Because I did a little bit of math, and a quarter of the films that were nominated in the top categories last year, a quarter of those nominations, I should say, came from films that were from the first 8 months or so of the year, before September 1st, in other words. So, that being said, I think there are a few films that came out in the first 8 months of this year that do have a chance of getting some nominations. So, I'll just go kind of down the calendar and stuff and just talk about what films I've seen, or films that I haven't seen, but that, are likely going to be included in the Oscar discussion some way or another, some slight possibility or another, and so on and so forth. But actually, before we get to that, though, we did have the conclusion of the, it would be the 76th Venice Film Festival this year. Just wrapped up on Sunday, and they gave out the top prizes and stuff. I'm actually going to pull that up so I have it in front of me here. But, of course, the big news everybody wanted to talk about off of that is that the Golden Lion went to Joker this year. Joker, yeah. I told wild card this year. Absolutely, it was. So, it's definitely going to be a curious road for this movie, I think, going forward. Because, the Golden Lion is a pretty prestigious award to win at this festival and stuff, sure. But as I like to point out, we've had a good number of Golden Lion winners here who have, come up short for Best Picture at the Oscars. I mean, look at last year, Roma won. That didn't quite win. The Shape of Water did win 2 years ago, and you have to go, I think, we figured this out last time, you have to go all the way back to the late 40s, some of the early days of the festival, before you get to another Best Picture winner, and that's Hamlet from Laurence Olivier. But other than that, you have years and years and years of films that come close, sometimes get in for Best Picture, and don't quite win, like Brokeback Mountain, Vera Drake, The Wrestler, in the 2000s. Then you have Michael Collins, which got some Oscar buzz back in the 90s, and that didn't go all the way. Shortcuts tied for the Golden Lion back in 93. That got director, but it didn't get picture nomination. Au revoir les enfants got nominated, I think, in the foreign language category and for screenplay, but it didn't even get in for picture that year. And that was in the 80s. Gloria in Atlantic City. Atlantic City was nominated for Best Picture the following year, premiered in 1980 at Venice, but that was nominated for Best Picture and a whole bunch of other stuff. Didn't even pick up one single win that night. Gloria got Best Actress, and I think that was it. Maybe a screenplay nod in the 80s there. And, you can go on down the list, so on and so forth. But, yeah, it's just not, So, even though a lot of people, the internet, obviously, and DC fans are just abuzz about this, they're like, holy shit, fucking Joker's going to win Best Picture and all that. Hey, calm your engines here, folks. This is actually, Alfonso Cuarón will tell you last year, this is actually kind of maybe a curse. With the exception, Del Toro and Olivier are going to say, oh, yeah, that's good. But, everybody else is like, sometimes, if you peak too early, not say that this is going to be the peak for Joker. I think it's going to be tremendous box office. It's in the low 80s on the tomato meter, so it's probably going to get that certified fresh rating. And overall, I think a lot of critics are liking it, and it's, I think, premiered at TIFF yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever. So I think it's still going to go strong. But, again, this is just going to be a very, we talked about it a lot with the October preview, but I can see it really scoring that Best Actor nomination. In fact, I have Joaquin Phoenix in second place for Best Actor right now. But I just don't know if it's going to have enough in it to pull Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and then get some good tech category nominations, again, outside of maybe something like Best Makeup, which is a more obvious pick right now. But it's just going to be a tough road for that movie, I think. Outside of Joaquin Phoenix, who I think his nomination is pretty... Again, it would have to be really tough competition going through the stretch here for that one not to get in for Best Actor at least. But yeah, Anyway, so elsewhere at the festival, a lot of the stuff that played at both Venice and at Telluride this year is also playing at TIFF, which, yeah, it's common. So really quick, I just wanted to name off, there's 4 films that I found that, to my knowledge, are not at TIFF, but they were at either Venice or at Telluride, which are both wrapped right now. We talked about Ad Astra quite a bit. It settled at 84%. Again, a lot of critics have been talking about its visual effects, the story, the direction, acting, maybe for Brad Pitt, for some Oscar buzz for that one. And I think definitely visual effects as possibly sound categories are probably a good bet right now. I don't know. From there, it's kind of tough. Like, the cinematography looks great, but, we could have a tough year for that, so I don't know. The Assignment, which was, again, kind of loosely based on Harvey Weinstein with Julia Garner starring, 67%, just had a few reviews. I think that was at Telluride. And that one does not have an official release date, so we're not sure about that one. Same goes with The Burnt Orange Heresy, which is just had a couple of reviews posted on Rotten Tomatoes from Venice, and one was positive, one was negative, so again, no release date on that one, so we don't know about that. But then we have The King from Netflix, that's at 75%. A lot of them have been talking about, the movie overall is actually really slowly paced and kind of a slow burner movie, but Chalamet's great, the supporting cast is pretty great, so yeah, I don't know. It's, Netflix, again, I think they're putting all their money into Irishman and Marriage Story this year, for sure, those two. We'll see. I don't know if they give how much love they're going to give to something like The Two Popes, which is doing pretty well at the festivals right now. What else is playing? But, Netflix has got quite a few stokes in the fire this year, and The King might be one that just gets, we'll give it a little love, but we're really pushing hard on these other films, so... Okay, so that's kind of it for Venice and for Telluride there. Okay, now we'll get to the main event here. What's already open in 2019 that has a chance at the Oscars? And we start, innocently enough, I guess, with the animated feature category with the Lego Movie, the second part. Of course, we all know one of the biggest Oscar snubs in the animated feature category this decade, outside of, for me personally, the Peanuts movie, which I know not everybody loved, but I did. Was the first Lego movie not getting in for animated feature. Since then, Lego Batman and Lego Ninjago have failed. So, and this second one did take a big dip financially. It took a dip critically as well. I haven't even seen it yet. I love those the Batman and the original Lego movie. I love them to pieces. But I haven't even seen this one yet. But so this one, again, we'll see how that animated feature category goes. But I think there's a lot better fare out there for now for this one. Okay, then moving on through February here, we had Alita Battle Angel. I talked about this one actually last year, maybe getting in for visual effects because of James Cameron's name's attached to it, Lightstorm Entertainment. And this one, I thought it would be really a poor critical reception here, but I think it's right around that 59-60% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's right, on that razor's edge between fresh or rotten. Did fairly well at the box office, worldwide, I should say. U.S. it did okay, better than I expected again, but worldwide, I think it almost got to 500 million, something like that. So it did pretty well. So, again, visual effects is probably, and maybe the sound categories is probably where that one ends. But, that one I would throw out there as possible. One that I do have higher hopes for, and I think will get in right now for animated feature, is the third entry in How to Train Your Dragon. It's The Hidden World is the subtitle for this one. The first two both got in. You could argue the second one came really close to winning. The first one, I think if Toy Story 3 wasn't there, would have won. So, I think this one will get nominated once again, though it's got Toy Story to deal with. And it'll have Frozen 2 and a few others. So I think it gets nominated, but it's probably not a big play to win. Okay, one that I actually, all the Marvel fans this year, of course, are praising, and really going for something like Endgame to maybe sneak into Best Picture and get some of those top nominations. But I think maybe their bigger play, arguably, quality-wise, is Captain Marvel. I would say first start with that makeup and hair styling category. I can totally see that happening right now. I mean, all the makeup on the Skrulls especially looks fantastic. The visual effects, remember, this is a de-aging heavy film with Sam Jackson and the Clark Gregg character, and I think maybe a couple others in there were digitally de-aged, and the rest of the effects were passable, pretty good. That was enough to get like Kong Skull Island in a few years ago, and Guardians 2, and a few of those other surprise ones. So and again, Marvel traditionally gets at least one or two nominations in there every few years. Like even back to the Captain America Winter Soldier year, that got in and Guardians, the first Guardians got in for its visual effects. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see Captain Marvel and Endgame both get in for visual effects there. I would say the rest. Otherwise, the rest of the categories there, I would say, yeah, it's probably hit or miss. Like maybe costume design, maybe production design, probably, maybe, I don't know, probably not at this point. But the sound categories again, yeah, they'll probably prefer the Avengers on that one, amongst a few other films. So yeah. But yeah, I would definitely say the hairstyling and makeup category is definitely going to be a good bet, I would say, right now for Captain Marvel. Okay, I thought there was another one here, and going through, we're in March now. Wonder Park came, I didn't see that one, but, and I did like, Captain Marvel I did like, I gave that an 8 out of 10, but, might as well throw in a couple reviews here while I'm at it. Wonder Park I didn't see, that's animated. I don't think there's much hope for that one, but... let's see. Us from Jordan Peele. This one, I'll tell you what, I love this one. I loved Get Out. This one I think I like just a little bit less, but they're pretty close. And even though, yeah, in repeated watches, it's like, yeah, that makes a little less sense. That, you have to kind of stretch the imagination for that to make sense. But it's still, I thought it was a fun ride and really, really entertaining, especially the first time through. It's like, the whole movie, even though it's almost right at 2 hours, just zips by. So I had a lot of fun at it. I would love to see the script nominated. I'd love to see Lupita Nyong'o nominated. The score by, I think it's Michael Abels. Let me find that out. I got it. Perfect. Michael Abels, yeah. That score is fantastic. I'd love to see that score nominated. The cinematography is great. Editing, all that stuff is great. And I'd love to see it get in. But, man, there is just... The way that Oscar fans especially were rallying for Get Out to get nominated 2 years ago, I should say, and they just kept going all through the year like, get it Oscar buzz, get it Oscar buzz. And it worked. I was a little reluctant at first, but eventually it was like, yep, I had to wave the flag, so to speak, and say, yep, that's gotten enough stuff. And yeah, it did turn into a pretty big nominee there. But not the same buzz, not the same word of mouth on Us, which, yeah. That's okay, but yeah, I would love to see that get a bunch of nominations. Okay, and that I gave it 10 out of 10. I love that one. Okay, Dumbo up next. I did see this one too. When it's Tim Burton, you cannot deny it in that, especially production design and costume design categories. I mean, even Dumbo, which wasn't a big money maker, wasn't very well critically received. I personally didn't like it either. I gave it a 5 out of 10. I thought there were some elements that were strong. Even like the opening, the introduction to Colin Farrell's character actually almost brought a tear to my eye just because it was actually like really well done and spectacularly well acted by him. But aside from that, it was like after that, it was like everything went downhill. It's like the Michael Keaton character was kind of annoying. The Danny DeVito character was kind of annoying. The effects were kind of annoying. It's just, yeah. So, I mean, but again, production design and costume design, fabulous, always great with Tim Burton, always, definitely one of the big talking points of his films and his whole filmography. But, and I can totally see him getting nominated. Alice in Wonderland, again, another mixed critical reception film, even though that one did make a lot of money, won for both those categories, as I recall. So, yeah, so look out for that, definitely, to at least get nominated. I don't know if it has enough buzz on it to win, because, again, like, Alice in Wonderland had $1 billion in its pocket when it went into the Oscar race, but Dumbo doesn't. It has, like, what, 300 million, maybe, worldwide? 350? Yeah, a little over 350. So, and, yeah, and that one's not going to make any more money. But yeah. Outside of that, I mean, the visual effects, again, I think Disney is probably going to push some of their Marvel stuff, and there's probably one more. I can't think of it right now. But, yeah, they're going to push other stuff, I think, for that. Okay, I haven't seen Shazam yet. I really want to see it, though. Yeah, I don't know, Oscar-wise, probably not much. Pet Sematary I saw, I actually loved it. Well, loved it. I gave it 9 out of 10. I thought it was a great throwback to some 90s horror films. John Lithgow was spectacular in that, a real standout there. Felt like his character just came right out of the book. Or I haven't read every Stephen King book. I haven't even gotten to Pet Sematary yet, but I've read a lot of his books, and it's like a lot of his characters feel and sound like John Lithgow did in his performances. I think it was Jeb was the character name. He has a lot of characters like that in like Christine and Cujo and a couple of those other, movies where it's just that, the bearded guy who's older, smoking cigarettes all the time. It's like that character is such a tripe in King's other works that it just felt right when I saw it there. So, Yeah, I mean, personally, I think Lithgow is going to have a much better shot for supporting actor for another movie coming out, Bombshell. But yeah, I loved him in that. So, and the movie overall, I thought again really entertaining. Some slow spots every now and again, but yeah, I did have a really fun time in that. Okay, here's another animated film I think we're all going to skip over, and it might end up getting in, and that's the film from Laika, Missing Link. Again, horrible box office reception, but critics loved it, and Laika does have a good track record here. They've gotten, actually I pulled it up here, where was it? Kubo and the Two Strings, Box Trolls, Paranorman, Coraline, Corpse Bride, yeah, all got nominated. And actually Kubo got 2 nominations because it also got in for its effects. So I would say definitely that's one I think we're all going to sleep on. So I would say that one actually gets in right now. Yeah, I don't have, again, I'll go into my official predictions in the next video. I just want to savor it a little bit more and let the build up go. Plus, TIFF is going to wrap up here in like 4 or 5 days, so I'd kind of like to see the end of the festival before my first official predictions get out, but it might come before that. We'll see. Okay, what else have I got? Yep, now we'll get to Avengers Endgame. Yeah, I actually wrote an article for this on Cultured Vultures back in, I want to say June or late May, right? Not too long after the film came out. And yeah, I mean, a lot of fans would love to see it get in for Best Picture, Best Actor Robert Downey Jr., Best Director for the Russo brothers, and so on and so forth, Best Screenplay and everything. It's just not going to happen, guys. I don't think so. As much as, yeah, Downey's performance, is pretty good in the film, arguably I would say his best performance in the whole franchise is Captain America Civil War. And I would even argue this Avengers Endgame is my 3rd favorite of the Avengers films. I liked Infinity War and the original Avengers better. That being said, it's a nice cap to his character. It'd be, nice to see it get nominated. I'm sure the fans wouldn't have a problem with that. And he's got enough screen time and enough to do in the film, enough big dramatic moments, especially toward the beginning. And I love the scene where he gets spoilers, where he gets reunited with his father. And gets to kind of do, because he talks about that in Civil War. That's a great payoff, and that's the thing about Endgame. So many payoffs that I kind of blubbered at a couple parts in the movie, but yeah, that's just because I followed it for so many years now. But there's so many great payoffs like that one. Captain America, I guess we'll go with spoilers. Yeah, Captain America getting his final dance with Peggy, even though the math of that and the whole rules of time travel that they set up in the movie gets fucked in that last scene. It just gets totally thrown aside because it's like we want to have this nice moment, and it's like, yeah, it's a nice moment, and the first time I saw it, when they reveal Evans's face when it's aged up, I should say, digitally and both with makeup and stuff. But it was like, oh God, no, they didn't do it. It's like, no, but still, just to see that little bit and to see what's his name, Falcon get handed the mantle and stuff. It's like, yeah, that's nice. But yeah, overall, though, I think visual effects, yes, it gets in. I think the sound categories, both of them, right now, I say yes. Film editing, I would say, actually a good bet, because there's it's a longer movie. There's a lot of moving parts. They have to edit, new footage and with old footage. Again, spoilers, you know what I'm talking about, and stuff like that. But I would say even something like original score for Silvestri. I've listened to the soundtrack a few times, and it's like there's some great, even though, yeah, it repeats a lot of stuff. Every time John Williams does that, he gets nominated. So why can't Silvestri? So and we saw last year Silvestri. I think was it Infinity War? No, I think it was the other one. Ready Player One got in for the shortlist for score. So I think the Academy likes him. I think if enough people see the movie, and I think if Marvel puts a big enough, and Disney puts a big enough push behind it, I think it could have a shot to get into like score, editing, the sound categories, visual effects. After that, though, it's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough to see this get in for Best Actor, because Best Actor is going to be really competitive this year. It's going to be tough to see it get in for Director. I think Director is also going to get pretty tight. And Best Picture, yeah, even though it is the biggest movie of all time now and stuff, yeah, those top categories I'll say no to, but everything else I think I'll say yes to. And that's not, sorry, I should clarify, not all the tech categories, but those specifically the ones I mentioned there. Okay, getting into May. Ugly Dolls, animated, probably not going to happen, but okay. And I didn't see that one. By the way, I did give Endgame a 9 out of 10 because I think those emotional moments are so strong, even though the time travel stuff doesn't make sense, even though, that end battle, I mean, it's epic the first time you see it, but man, it's just so CGI mess after the first time you see it. But I know I got half the people pissed off at me now, but okay. Let's see, what else? Yeah, May was pretty quiet this year until we got to Aladdin. Aladdin I didn't like. I gave it a 4 out of 10. And I'll tell you what, though, again, look out for like something like a visual effects happening in this. The costume and production design, definitely. I would say original song, too, for the one that Jasmine sings. Yeah, without going into the review of this one, though, I just, even though I was really behind the casting of Will Smith, I thought he was probably about the best choice you could get here. Man, he just kind of got on my nerves in the movie. But, yeah, it's funny enough, yeah, I was like the only person who was glad about that casting. Everybody else was like, bullshit, you gotta do Robin Williams. It's like, yeah, even though he's dead, sorry. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, so, yeah, visual effects, maybe, yeah, definitely the design categories for sure is going to be in play, and maybe original song. Okay, also in May, Booksmart. I actually just got this on disc, so and I watched it again on Friday. I like this one. I like it a lot. I don't love it the way everybody else does, but I do like it a lot. Because it's, what is it? 90, yeah, it's like 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff and all that. I'll tell you what. This film, I think, does get in for original screenplay. Right now, I think it does. One thing I think that will help it is that it does have 4 female writers, and if the word gets out early, like as in right now, if the studio, everybody behind it, I think it's United Artists and Annapurna and stuff, if they get behind it and say, we want to get, these 4 women did a great job, the script has been, and I think, yeah, even though directorially a lot of people have liked it too with Olivia Wilde, I don't know if she gets in for this. I don't know if it gets in for acting anywhere, probably not. Even though I loved Billie Lourd. The last time I mentioned this film, I couldn't remember her name. Billie Lourd is a revelation in this. She is just so channeling her mother in this that it's crazy. And she is absolutely the standout of the supporting cast. Even though, yeah, I do like Beanie Feldstein and Caitlin Dever in this too as the 2 leads. Man, that supporting cast steals the show. The parents, in as few scenes there are, Elise Kudrow and Will Forte are great. Jason Sudeikis gets a few good laughs. All the kids, again, all the supporting kids are hilarious. They all get a good moment or two to shine. So, yeah, especially, what's his name? Is this the guy? The one he had the stub in his ear and stuff, and he was like the super rich kid. Him I enjoyed a lot, especially the second time around. But man, there's a lot of great supporting parts in that. But I would say actually look out for this at the Globes to maybe get in for maybe 1 or 2 of those slots for Best Actress Comedy Musical for Dever and Feldstein. They have a shot. I think at least one of them, or they'll fight over, because it's like they're both leads. They're both really great, but yeah, it's kind of tough to get 2 lead actresses in. I would say, yeah, comedy musical film for the Globes is probably a good shot right now. I think if it starts there and it keeps going, I think maybe, yeah, it can get in for screenplay at the Globes too. I think if it can keep going from there, it can get that screenplay nomination at the Oscars. After that, it's going to be tough to get this one in, because there's a lot of other, smaller fare independent productions and stuff that I think they're going to look to first. Okay, also in May we had Godzilla King of the Monsters. Yeah, visual effects, sound categories maybe. But again, not a lot of buzz on that one. Rocket Man, though. There is quite a bit of buzz around. This is another one I got on disc and watched again. Booksmart was an 8 out of 10, by the way. Rocket Man, I actually gave this also an 8 out of 10. I think I liked it better than Bo Rap, Bohemian Rhapsody last year. Sort of same director and Dexter Fletcher, but that's a long story. And I'll tell you what, with this one, Taron Egerton, I think when he's acting as Elton John, he's just acting as him, walking around as him and stuff, perfect. Loved him in the role. Great. When he's singing, no. Sorry, there's only one Elton John. It's like I could try right now and sing a bit, but yeah, I'm not going to do it. But yeah, there's only one Elton John. It's really tough to get that voice down, and it just didn't do it for me, singing-wise. I'll tell you what, though, I do like Jamie Bell and the supporting role he has as his the lyrics writer through the years and stuff. It's like that's good, and I do like Egerton a lot when he's acting as Elton John. He's really great in that. And again, I think this is one that benefits really well at the Globes. If it can get in for comedy musical, I think again that's probably where they should. I don't know if they will, because Bo Rap didn't do it last year, but look what happened. I think if they do put this, it is more of a flat out musical than Bo Rap was. I'll give it that for sure. if it can get in for that, if it can get in for a musical comedy actor especially, that would really help, I think, Taron's chances there. I do think he's got an outside chance right now. He's not in my 5 for Best Actor right now. I know a lot of people are putting him in. So I think, again, he's in that 10, that 5 to 10 range. He's in that range for sure. But again, the movie came out a little early and stuff. So outside of that, though, I would say costume design is probably a good bet for this film. The costume design is just so in your face through the movie. It is Elton John. He's all about flamboyance and everything with that. So the costume design definitely, I would say, has probably the best shot for this. I did see Dark Phoenix, 4 out of 10. Yeah, it kind of didn't land very well. I mean, it wasn't as terrible as everybody said it would be, but no. Secret Life of Pets 2 is another one. Took a pretty big drop box office wise. So yeah, doesn't Illumination have another film coming out later this year? Maybe. Oh, no, I was thinking of Blue Sky or whatever. So yeah, that's okay. That's Universal. Okay, I was gonna say, but yeah, I thought they had another one maybe, but yeah, if I've forgotten it by now. But yeah, I didn't see that one. Let's see. Late Night came out in June as well. Again, this is one maybe that gets that nomination for lead actress comedy musical for somebody like an Emma Thompson or Mindy Kaling. Again, I don't know if they can both get in, but I haven't seen this one yet, but I do want to see it pretty bad. Last Black Man in San Francisco made a pretty big buzz there again in June, especially for the lead actor, Jimmy Fails. Yeah, it's like the buzz kind of was there, and then it was kind of gone, unfortunately. Actually, one more. Sorry, that I don't know. It's not a doc, but it reminded me of that the Apollo 11 doc that came out in March, I think. That one, I think, definitely gets in for documentary feature this year. That is probably where the conversation starts, at least in that category. Let's see, Men in Black International. I don't think so. No, there's so much bad press around the making of the movie and how much it didn't make at the box office. I think that one gets ignored. Toy Story 4, though, yeah. I did see it just recently. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's my least favorite of the Toy Story movies, but it's still a Toy Story movie. It's still really good. There's some funny shit in this movie, though. I'll tell you that. There's some funny laugh-out-loud moments. I do think, yeah, and also, animation-wise, I was really worried because that first trailer just rubbed me the wrong way because the animation just looks so poor. For whatever reason, that first trailer really didn't sell me, but it's good. I think animation-wise, yeah, it's really good. I really like the new characters, especially Duke Kaboom. Stole the show. He's really good. Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele are fun. The Christina Hendricks role, in case you haven't seen it yet, I won't spoil it, but hers is interesting, and actually her part, I think, had the biggest emotional impact for me in the film. It's like, because her thing and the end of the film happened pretty close together there, and it did. I finally, there's some stuff in the beginning that was kind of sad for me. I've been a big, big fan of this franchise. I grew up on this franchise. I like to tell the story. The first Toy Story, when it came out on VHS, I was probably not even a year old, and my mom and dad would show it and stuff, and I'd watch it. It was probably one of the first big movie loves of my life. And they would constantly, mercilessly, rewind the part where Buzz falls off the ledge. I'm pretty sure I've told this story before, but anyways, it bears repeating. Where he falls off the ledge and breaks his arm. They would repeatedly rewind that, show it over again, because I would cry every time that scene came up. And they would just do it just to see me cry. So yeah, so that goes without saying. So yeah, the second one, the third one I love too. So this one, I didn't love it as much as the other ones, but that's not really a bad thing, because it's those first three are just so good. But yeah, I do think this one does storm the animated feature category for now. We'll see how well Frozen 2 does, but it looks already like it's going to be better than the first one, because I like the first one a lot of Frozen, but this second one looks impressive. So yeah, we'll see if it's Disney versus Disney in the animated feature category, which sometimes happens. But yeah, otherwise, Toy Story 3 got in for picture and screenplay and song, and I think that was it. But I don't know if there's an original song with this. I can't remember if there is or not. Was there? I can't remember. The Ballad of the Lonesome Cowboy and I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away. I don't know. I'll have to listen to those some other time, but I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we saw the Ballad of Buster Scruggs get in for song and stuff last year, so... and yeah, I think all the Toy Story movies have gotten in for Best Song, by the way, too. So that's probably, actually, yeah, those are probably good bets. One of them. Whichever one Disney wants to put the money into. And Newman has actually never been nominated for score for this franchise, and this could be the last one. We don't know. So I'd love to see him get nominated for it, but yeah. Let's see what else. Yeah, I don't have it in for picture right now. It's like the third one. Yeah, it did get that buzz and stuff. And yeah, of the 3 animated films that have been nominated for Best Picture, 2 of them have been Pixar, so it stands to bet that the next one is going to be a Pixar movie. But yeah, I'm just not sensing it right now. Again, it didn't perform quite as well at the box office as well as the last one did. Actually, critically, it did take a ever so slight dip as well. I think this one's 97, the last one was 99. So yeah. So yeah, I would say definitely animated feature is the best bet. Original song. And maybe that's it. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. What else? I didn't see Yesterday, but I know there was a lot of buzz around that movie. Then it came out, and the reviews were pretty good, but not great. And it is Danny Boyle, so there's always a lot of expectations around him. So I'm just, even for like the Globes and stuff, I just don't know how well that one's going to do. Maybe the Himesh Patel, I think, is the lead actor in that. Maybe he gets some buzz for that, but I don't know. And then Spider-Man Far From Home. If Homecoming couldn't get any Oscar love, I don't know why Far From Home would, even though it did do a lot better box office-wise. Visual effects, sound categories, maybe. That's about it. And yeah, even Far From Home I gave an 8 out of 10. I didn't love it as much as Homecoming. I thought especially the first act was pretty slow, actually. And I just couldn't get into the movie for whatever reason. Then the second half, I thought, was a lot better. After there's this bit where Gyllenhaal, there's this big scene of him. Again, I don't want to give spoilers away right away here, but it's, there's something his character does right in the middle of the film, and it's this big, long kind of explanation scene, and it just takes forever to get through that. And it's like, after that scene, the rest of the movie I really liked a lot, especially the very, very end. But yeah. Yeah. Then we had Midsummer. I haven't seen Ari Aster's first film, Hereditary. But this Midsummer, I gave a 6 out of 10. It's like, I got the point. Yeah, it's here to shock you. Yeah, it's here to, do all that. And it's like, especially, yeah, the first like actual kills in the movie, when they happen, it's like, oh, damn. It's like, this movie's not fucking around. And then it's 2 hours and 30 minutes or however long, almost 2.5 hours. And the director's cut, which was just out, was like 250. I didn't see it. But yeah, there's, after a while, it just becomes kind of a shock value thing. So I didn't, there's some neat ideas in the film. There's definitely some nice, there's a lot of foreshadowing and stuff. There's all that stuff which, to the critic's mind, and so to speak, is good. But it's like, after that, it's like, it just kind of gets repetitive. It's like, yep, something weird will happen, and then a violent thing happens, and then it slows back, and you're just sitting back going, weird. Yeah, they're talking about this. They're talking about their ceremony, they're talking about their traditions, they're talking about incest and stuff like that, and it's like, it just keeps going and going. But yeah, so yeah, a 6 out of 10. I wouldn't mind seeing it again, but not right away. And there were several scenes though, especially in that first, kind of leading up to that first scene. There was a genuine tension in the film, and I genuinely felt tense. And I think at the end of the film too, I was just so kind of weirded out that it did kind of affect my experience, because I went to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood the same day. And it's like, it did affect my experience. It's like, then that one starts up, and I'm like, Tarantino, so it's gonna be violent, it's gonna be hilarious and all. And it, yeah, not to get into Once Upon a Time in Hollywood quite yet. I'll get into it, but yeah, it just kind of made it really weird for that screening. But anyways, okay, then what else? I missed The Farewell. It was playing, and I didn't quite get to it. I really want to see it though. The trailers were really great. Awkwafina, surprise, surprise, is getting Oscar buzz for it. And it's definitely one I can see. A24, again, never doubt them. They have a couple other films coming out later on this year. But this one I might see. I wouldn't be shocked to see them put a lot of their, again, Stokes and Fire, a lot of their attention on this one. Because it's Lulu Wang, female director, and she wrote the script. And she is, not a white person, traditionally and everything. So it's like, obviously all the SJWs are going to be really happy about that. But yeah, and that's another thing too, and I talked about it back in the Oscars So White years and stuff. It's like, nobody gave a shit back in the day that Asian American actors weren't getting in, that, Indian American actors weren't getting in, that Native American actors weren't getting in. Nobody gave a flying fuck about that. It was all about especially African American and any, black actors and so on and so forth. weren't getting in and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah, sure. You'd love to see representation and everything, but it's like, again, it's about what comes out. It's about what's getting produced. It's about how much buzz there's around the movie, how good the movie is, and what the competition is. That's, that trumps everything else. But yeah, and I still hold to, not to get political into it again, but I still hold that standard. But that being said, Get Out was fantastic. Moonlight was great. Really great. Again, I admire that film more than I love it, but I was glad it got the nominations it did. And, for Best Picture winner to be like that, it's like, that's something. That's, a good addition to the list. Even though it's not one I rewatch a lot, it's still, especially when you look at it directorially, a great movie. And I loved his follow-up even more last year with Beale Street. So, I mean, and again, that's kind of my big thing was, we went into 2014, 2015, pretty much outside of like Selma and a few others, like Concussion and stuff, not a lot of films that had African-American leads in them that were in the Oscar discussion. But then you go into 2016, it's like Fences, and what else was out that year? Fences, Moonlight, and there was Hidden Figures. And it's like, yeah, all three of them really solid films. So yeah, so it's not about the fact that you make, that so few films have been made that feature, minorities and everything. That's not what didn't get them nominated. It's the fact that you didn't have films of quality that were getting made. And not to say Selma wasn't of quality, but it was just, it was a tough year and everything too. So, but yeah, we're diving into the past too much here. But speaking of The Farewell, I really want to see it. I think it's got a shot to get a couple nods, right? I don't have Awkwafina in right now. I haven't seen the film. Maybe if I do, I might change my mind on that. But I know she's pretty high up in the list right now, actually, for a lot of people. But who I do have in is the grandmother, who's kind of, I guess, more the central character of the film. Everything kind of centers around her. Who's played by Zhao Shuzhen. I think that's... I'll try that. Again, I'm not great at pronunciation, especially with anybody who's not originally from the U.S. or anything. So, and that's on me, just because I'm a U.S. guy. But anyways, I do have her getting in for supporting actress, though. And I think that's probably a good bet right now. So even if that's the only nomination it gets, I do want to see the film, and maybe I might turn around and say, no, this should be in for Best Actor. This should be in for Picture. It should be in for Screenplay and stuff. And it is original screenplay. I can definitely see original screenplay also happening for this. Okay, and then we've got The Lion King. Pretty big letdown for me. 5 out of 10. I didn't love it. Yeah, there's just so many scenes, especially you just kind of have to just sit back as the movie goes on and just say, okay, here comes this scene. Yep, we'll get excited for this. It's like, yeah, you get a little excited for like the, what do you call it, the stampede scene and the Be Prepared, which got cut really short. But, so, we've seen, animated films like Kubo and the Two Strings get in, and this is an animated film. It is. Get in for visual effects, so I think that's kind of where the conversation starts and ends with this one. Even though you do have Beyonce singing a new song and everything, I just don't think it's going to get a lot of buzz. Okay, then we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Hate to break it to you guys, 7 out of 10 for this one. This is one of the lesser Tarantino films, I feel. But, and I will get into spoilers on this one. I feel like I can't get around it with this. I'll tell you what, the part everybody hates is the part I love. And the part everybody loves is actually the part I was bored at in this. And that's the Brad Pitt stuff. Up until the very end, I was like, man, his character... I mean, it sounds like he would be a great character in a novel or something. It's like, there's so much talked up about him. And he has, even though... and Brad Pitt does have that nice, that look to him the whole movie, like he's, he's holding back and everything, like he's a tough guy and he's strong and he's capable and everything, but he's kind of holding back, and all that. And I love that aspect to it, just in the visual department. Again, it looks like it'd be a great film, or a great character in a novel. But man, that stuff where he's out at the Spawn Ranch is just so boring and just so slow. And it's like, even though a lot of Tarantino stuff, people criticize the slow parts, like, in Pulp Fiction and stuff, like, I love that stuff. And the slow part, so to speak, in Inglourious Bastards, which is the table scene with, Michael Fassbender and all them, they're sitting around, they're playing the card game and stuff. It's like, I love that scene, because there's just so much built-up tension, but I just didn't feel much tension in the Spawn Ranch scene. I know everybody else, like I said, everybody else loved that part. That was their favorite part of the movie. I disagree. No, I was kind of bored during that. I was kind of checking my watch during that whole part. And they kind of build up to the Bruce Dern character, and he's just such a, again, it's a surprise, but it's like, man, I thought that'd be different. It's like, that's the part Burt Reynolds was supposed to play. It's like, anyways. and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, the end of that scene, gets a little more Tarantino, a little bit more, violence and comedy and stuff. It's like, I do like that part. And I'll tell you what, I do really like the Leonardo DiCaprio character. And I would argue it's probably one of DiCaprio's top 5-ish performances, somewhere in that range there. Really good. His character has a lot of, outward emotion and stuff, and a lot of blow-ups and stuff. So it's like, yeah, that's really great. And I'll tell you who I really, really liked in the movie was Timothy Olyphant, who's, I believe he's the... he's the character, because DiCaprio is this Western star. He goes on this other television show. And Olyphant is like the star of that show. He's like the mainstay of that show. And I think he nails it in his scenes. He's only got like 2 or 3 scenes, but he's great. The little actress that DiCaprio plays with in the film, she's fantastic. She's only in it for a little bit, but man, she's great. And stuff like that. And Margot Robbie, I think, again, I remember coming out of Cannes, everybody was just like, why was she given so much, what's your problem, Tarantino? You didn't give her enough screen time or lines or anything. And it's like, he's like, I reject your theory. It's like, after I saw it, I'm like, maybe they kind of had a point. It's like, I get it's, and here's the thing. This is and I'll get into the Bruce Lee stuff too. But here's the thing. This is Tarantino's story. This is not, again, spoiler, this is not a 100% factual story. This is him playing around with history, as he did in Inglourious Bastards. And I remember the first time I saw Inglourious Bastards, I was really, kind of rubbed the wrong way by the ending. I was like, well, that's kind of offensive, because it's like, Hitler didn't die like that. It's like, it's like, and that, yeah, it's like, and all, it's played for comedy and stuff. It's like, there were, between the date, I think, that Inglourious Bastards would have happened, that theater shooting and stuff, and the actual death of Hitler, it's like, that would have been like a few thousand lives that would have been, saved and everything. It's like, and Tarantino plays it off for laughs. It's like, yeah, it blew me the wrong way at first. But on repeat viewing, though, I really grew to appreciate that ending and stuff. And I think right away with this one, right off the bat, I was like, I love this ending. And again, I'll get into some of the controversies here too. But I love the ending that happens in this. I mean, finally, Brad Pitt's character, it's like, finally he gets a little bit to do, and it's like from that hilarious scene where he's smoking the acid cigarette or whatever, from that part on, I'm like, okay, now I like the Brad Pitt character. And that's the thing. The end, like the last 30 minutes or 20 minutes or so, is what I expected out of this movie. Out of the whole 160 minutes, I only got 20 of what I was kind of more or less expecting. Which, again, some people complain about that, and it's like, yeah, it's like, I don't have a problem with that, just the rest of the 140 minutes or whatever that comes before it has to be really good, and it's like, there were some parts that were good, some parts that were really good, and then other parts that I was just bored at. And a lot of Margot Robbie stuff, I mean, it was nice, and I think overall she does a good job with the role and stuff, but her screen time is low. It's just, I just don't think she's going to get in for this. Brad Pitt, same deal. I don't have him in right now for supporting actor, even though I think he's first place on like Gold Derby and a couple other odd makers right now. I don't think so. DiCaprio for Best Actor, again, winning, 2 times in the same decade, even after he went through his, long spiel, everybody's like, give Leo an Oscar. I don't see it. I mean, I have him in first place right now just as a placeholder, but I don't see him going all the way with this. I think he gets in. I think it's the easiest. He's the one who gets in of the acting branch here. I have Tarantino's script in. I don't have it in for director, but I do have it in for film. And I think it's a solid bet for its cinematography, its production design, costume design, film editing. I think absolutely. But outside of that, and maybe a sound category, maybe. Probably more like along the lines of sound. That's a tough call. Maybe sound mixing, but it could be either one. I think that's about it, though. I don't see it getting that 9-10 nomination. I think it gets 5 or 6. Yeah, somewhere in there. Anyways, but yeah, back to the Margot Robbie stuff really quick. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I think more or less what, again, he's telling his own story, so I got around that. And the Bruce Lee stuff, man, talk about a whole bunch of people talking up a storm about nothing. It's like, did you see the film? Tarantino explained why Jet Li was why that was, not only in post interviews after the film was over or after it was out, but remember that thing, because Brad Pitt's on the roof and he's smoking a cigarette or whatever, and he's thinking about, what would happen if he went on set that day and stuff. It's a dream. It's a figment of his imagination. He's thinking about, okay, this is how it would play. Kurt Russell would get into Leo's trailer and talk about it, and then I would do a fight with with Bruce Lee, and then I would, what's her name, the stunt actress would come in from a lot of other Tarantino films. She would come in as Kurt Russell's wife and stuff. It's like it was his imagination, it was his interpretation of who Bruce Lee would be and stuff, and all that, and I guess Tarantino has read a couple of things that suggest that all this stuff is actually kind of more based around reality than we think. In the meantime here, though, what else do I have to say about this one? I think it's not, I think, going to be the strong bet that everybody else does right now for a lot of those categories. So, yeah. Okay, what else have we got going on here? Getting into August. I haven't seen a whole lot yet, but The Kitchen was one I had high expectations for. I didn't see it, but it's not going anywhere. Peanut Butter Falcon I did just see. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's, I don't know. I haven't looked at my list yet for, what's my favorite film of the year, but this one and Us is right up there. Loved it. I'd love to see Shia LaBeouf get in. I'd love to see, especially, I think it's Zach Gottsagen. Gottsagen, that's it. I'd love to see him get in. It's, it's, every once in a while we'll see those, the kind of, for lack of a better word, special needs people, the disabled and everything. If they have a big Oscar role, they'll win. I mean, not always, and sometimes it is a professional actor who's not, actually diagnosed with this stuff plays it, but this is an actual guy with actual Down syndrome. He does a great job in the film, and Shia, this is Shia's best role in a while. Even Dakota Johnson I thought was pretty realistic. It's a really grounded film, but it's also really great, just in the realistic quality that it comes up with there, and the Mark Twain angle. Yeah, I get it. Some people didn't appreciate it as much for that, but I did like it a lot. So that was a 10 out of 10. I loved it. So this is one I can see kind of being like a Dallas Buyers Club, something that, it comes out and it does really well, and it does really well critically and box office wise, and then it comes back later on in the year and it's like, oh yeah, it's actually a big player. There's another comparison I want to make. I can't remember what it is right now, but it's another film that was out, it was either last year or 2 years ago, that kind of came out around the same, or Hell or High Water, kind of, a little bit. It came out in August, and it, played really well at the box office, played really well with critics, and then it came back and it was a stronger Oscar contender than originally thought. So here's hoping. So we'll see about that one. We're almost done here. What else? Where'd You Go, Bernadette? I did see this one. This is another 5 out of 10. I didn't love it. I hate to say, what's the young actress in this? Nails on a chalkboard. Nothing against her personally, but man, her character was just such a bitch. The daughter character, I didn't care for her at all. But I'll tell you, I loved Cate Blanchett in this. Again, depending on where they put this in a Globes race or something, this is one I would love to see her get nominated for it. Maybe, we'll see how the Oscar race pans out, but she was fantastic. I loved her in it. And she was, easily the best part of the film. Okay, almost there. Ready or Not, I've seen 8 out of 10. I think it's not a great character study, but man, it's a fantastic horror comedy. It's a short story. I had a group of a family sitting behind me, and they had like a 2-year-old, 5-year-old and stuff. It's like every fifth word was fuck, and there's a lot of violence, and there's, especially at the end, it gets really bloody. But so it's probably not a great family film, but still at the same time, I had a fun time with it. Is it going to get Oscar love? Of course not. But yeah. Okay, then we've got It Chapter 2 I did see as well. Just might as well mention this one. I gave this a 9 out of 10. I think even though it's pretty split critics-wise, I had a fun time with it. And I think it's a good follow-up to the first chapter of the first film. I think it's going to be a much easier watch. I think that first film, to rewatch it. The second one is just so long. And yeah, I get it. It's like the climax of the film does go on forever, and it's like a whole hour and stuff. Like the whole, like what would traditionally be like the last half hour is like an hour, just because there's so much there and stuff. But and yeah, it is kind of repetitive in the second act and stuff. I get that, and it's like the further away I get from the film, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I get that critique, but still, I think the overall package delivered. Bill Hader's great. James McAvoy, I kind of got used to him as it went on. Chastain, unfortunately, I think got wasted in this. I mean, obviously her character is, has some interesting stuff, but it's like, man, it's just, they just don't do much with her, unfortunately, even though she's top billed and stuff. Isaiah Mustafa, I think he's the guy that plays Mike grown up. He's fantastic. Even though he's got some of the tougher dialogue and stuff, he's great. I love his character. In this one, he actually got a lot more to do in this second chapter than the kid version of it did in the first one. And the guy who plays Eddie, the adult, James Ransom, yeah, he is exactly that kid grown up. That's, yeah, exactly it. And yeah, even Bill Skarsgård, I think he had a better. It was weird. It's like I think he has more screen time in this one, but he felt like he had a lot more to do in the first chapter. But yeah, he gets a good scene, early on with one of the kids. That's pretty good. And I mean, when I say kid, I mean one of the kid, victims, or who he's stalking and stuff. And yeah, all the kids coming back for this one, it's like, yeah, they're, they slip right back into the roles, obviously, and stuff. But it's like, it's kind of a two-edged sword. 'Cause it's like, it's great to see him again, but man, it just really kind of pulls away from the screen time and the impact of seeing those kids grown up and stuff. So, yeah, so overall, yeah, I was, I guess, kind of mixed on it, but it's like, man, there was enough stuff I liked that I did, the first impression of it was, man, I really like this movie, but it's like, the further away, I get from it, it's like, yeah, that didn't make sense, that you could have totally cut, and stuff. But even that being said, though, even at 250 or whatever it is, it didn't feel like 250. I thought it went by relatively quick for me, at least, so. Okay, I think we're all caught up now. So, yeah, so that's everything that's happened so far in 2019 that I think has at least a small chance at the Oscars. Again, some of those higher chance than others. But, yeah, next time we're going to boil down to it. We're going to see my first predictions for who I think gets in for picture, director, the acting categories, the screenplay categories, and, yeah, we'll just stop there and deal with the top 8, as I've done in the past and stuff, and, yep, and from there we'll keep going out as we get further on into the season.